Empire is the furthest at 3 hours, so no matter where we go, we're driving.
Right. Well, Empire is the furthest of the, let's call it, close New York tracks, right? Because we all know that obviously, I don't know how much traveling you do, but it's like the instant that you decide, all right, I'm going to start looking at some of the NHRA division events. All right, for me personally, out of Rochester, yes, Lebanon Valley is the closest at 4 hours away. And then you start talking about going to Cecil County or Englishtown when it was open, or Echo, or any place else, and you're talking about a 6-hour drive. But I mean, we all do it, and we do it because we obviously love to race, and there's different reasons why we might travel. Maybe it's because we're tracing the Wally, or maybe it's because our friends are going to be at a different track, or maybe it's a high dollar bracket race that entices us to go someplace. But traveling isn't it's certainly not beyond our means to do what we love. Now that said, I applaud you because that is a really serious tow that you have every week to go to Empire.
Yeah. It's great though, because it ends up being like a mini vacation for us every week. Work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
And we all race. We play hard there. We work hard at the track too. But part of the experience for me is that travel. Even when we go on vacations and things like that, we go in a car. We just love that time together. Go explore different places. Pete and I running all over the place during the week, so that's 3 hours in the car. We get to catch up on things and just shoot the shit.
Right. Yeah, no, and I can certainly understand that. And we were talking a little bit before the show, so you both basically do the same thing. And now I don't know if you guys take your rigs home every weekend.
Not unless something's broke.
Okay.
we do not want to take our rigs home. It takes us 2 shots to get everything of ours up.
Okay.
So a couple weekends ago, we towed up. Don towed the one trailer, our trip with my truck in it, and I towed our camper.
Okay.
And then this weekend, he's getting everything ready. He will be towing his dragster up, and I will be towing his new to him roadster up. Because now he has to have 2 cars because Pete has 2 cars. It's what one has, the other one seems to want to have. So he'll be running the Roadster in Super Pro this year, if everything shakes out okay, and the Dragster in the Quick 16 shows that they run.
Oh, okay. So just the Quick 16.
That's what he plans to do. But if something breaks, he has another one to hop into. I just have my truck. Always a truck girl.
Well, is there any reason why, let's say that worst case scenario, something bad were to happen to the truck? Is there a reason why you couldn't hop into the spare vehicle that was sitting there?
Well, I've never been in an open wheel.
Okay.
So, but there's not a reason. But it's funny you say that, because we have had times when we have had a car that is that's broken.
Yeah.
I think it was Crystal's that had broken, and I said, get in my truck. We'll share the ride and so on and so forth. We're more than willing. I've offered it to Pete before he had 2 cars. You're more than welcome to drive the truck and so on and so forth. The problem is that once I'm in the truck driving it, you can't, and they've already gone down the track, you can't change cars like that. But we're always willing to share and everything. Sure. But I've never had any desire to race an open wheel vehicle. The only one I ever liked, I like those Land Sharks. I think that would be like really cool. Those little short dragsters would be really cool to drive. But I'm a truck girl. I love my truck. Is there a reason why I couldn't? No, there isn't. But
now, before the current truck, you had another truck.
Was the little truck.
The little truck. So you had another truck before that. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So I had the little S10. I had that for 10 years. That truck never owed me a dime. It was a wonderful truck.
Yep.
There's a very interesting story for where that truck went. That truck actually went to one of the Street Outlaws guys.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, JJ DeBoss, Street Outlaws guys,
really?
That races under his program. He came up from maybe Mississippi, and he bought the old truck of mine. It's a good little truck, and I've seen some videos of it and everything. And then this truck we got from Tennessee, and I love it.
Now, what made you, I guess, want to get rid of the little truck and go to the truck that you have now?
Wanted to a little more chassis for a little more motor.
Okay.
I started going quite a bit faster, 2-3 tenths faster, and decided it wasn't as consistent as I liked it to be for bracket racing. Yep. So I went back. We just fixed some things and put a little less gear in it, and I'm back to running 591, 589, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I liked the 570s, I really did, but I found that at my age, I'm a little slower is not such a bad thing. I thought I wanted to go faster, but it was way more consistent. So that's what I'm happy with. So
well, that's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The funny thing is that now the Street Outlaw guys have it, right? It probably has a 2,500 horsepower motor in the little truck.
In that little truck going as fast as it could go. So.
Well, that's interesting. Now, Crystal, you drive a dragster, right?
I do.
She's the fastest girl in town.
Have you always driven a dragster?
So yeah, started off, like streetcar, dabbled with snowmobiles a little bit, and then my first race car was a dragster. It was actually an Ed Quay that we picked up from Bill Pitts, who races at Empire.
Yeah.
It was bare bones chassis. I paid $2,500 for the chassis. It even had the motor mounts cut off of it.
Wow.
So that was mine and Pete's first project car. He took on the challenge of putting that car together, painted it, did the fabrication on it. Yeah. My dad had a 402 big block Chevy that we put in it. We called it Sluggo because it only ran 620s in the dragster. Okay. But I turned down a lot of wind lights with that little car going 620s. That was my first season at Skyview with that car. Ran that for a couple of years, and then I did get out of racing for about 2 seasons. Okay. And then I got back in, raced my dad's Corvette for a season, raced for Tony DeRose. He had a Fox Body style Mustang that I raced, and then went back to my tried and true. I'm a dragster girl. So I told Pete on the way to vacation one August, I said I want back in the dragsters, so we made it happen. And for a while, we both pedaled to dragsters. And he's always had a love for S10s. That was his first drag car. Okay. So he's always had a love for S10s. And we had just a street Camaro that we liked to drive. And kept going back to race cars are more fun than street cars, especially when you live in upstate New York and weather conditions permit you from driving and having as much fun as you want to in those street cars. So we ended up trading that for the S10 that we have now. So we had the 2 dragsters and the S10, and Pete's a door guy, so I hurt the motor in my race tech, and he had been asking me to get in the big car I drive now. And the race tech was running 490s. It had a 495, just stock block GM block in it. And we just kept taking out the rear main bearings. And Pete's like, I'm done with this. This is the second block we've gone through. I'm done with this. So we ended up getting a dart block 565 through Don helped us out because he is a master and is always there for us. Between him and Pete, I mean, those 2 are a dynamic duo when it comes to the cars that Kathy and I get to drive.
Yes.
So we put the 565 in there, and so Pete was like, you're getting in the Miller car. And I was like, that's my car now. And it was actually
but tell the truth about that's my car now. The second Pete said that she could have that car, she took her name and she slapped it right over his so that she just wiped him out of existence on that car.
I might have done that. That's Black Betty.
Yep.
That's my girl right there. So I hopped in that thing and went 460. Came back with a big grin on my face and said, you're not getting that car back. So Pete decided, he's like, he's always wanted to build a car from scratch. Okay. So we ended up picking up 3 seasons ago. We got rid of my white dragster, the Race Tech, and he picked up a Gen 4 Camaro that had the rear end in it. We had to paint it, finish fabricating it, you name it, everything. We threw my 565 in there, and he has his beautiful Camaro now that runs 550s. So we have the truck, the S10, and the dragster. And last season, I decided I wanted to drive the S10 a little bit more, and I was scared. I was scared to drive a 650 S10. There's the S10.
That little truck.
Pete, you know, this is, I mean, our cars and the looks that they get are just Pete. This is all Pete touch. We talk through the colors we like, and he's a finished guy. He's a woodworker. That's what he does for a living.
No kidding.
Attention to detail is his thing. You give him something, and he's going to make it the beautiful machines that we have. And so last year I got into some of the index racing. The 650 and the 7.0 index racing, and that's the plan with the truck this year. Pete's going to run the Camaro in Super Pro. I'm going to run my dragster in Super Pro, and then I want to do some of the index racing with the S10. So.
Looks like we got a new Western New York Super Rod Association competitor, right?
Let's do it.
I say it's a 5/10 Pro tree, so there's no excuses there.
Yeah.
And
well, we're right on that brink of the 650. Like I was running 651, 652 last year. We had to get it a little bit there, but it was the truck was gassed out there. So we're actually in the process of putting new brakes on the back, disc brakes to lighten it up a little bit. Okay. So we should crest that hump this year and be good to go.
Jeff Jackson said, "Watch out, they have bigger engines than you do."
Yes, they do. So does pretty much everybody else out at Empire or in the class. That's for sure. I was going to. There's a whole bunch of questions that I have to ask, I guess, and I don't even know where to start. I mean, usually it's like one of the questions that I usually ask is, you know, how did you get your start in drag racing? Now, Crystal, I guess I'll start with you since you were talking last. I heard you drove your dad's Corvette. Obviously, Pete races as well. I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to assume that your dad was racing when you were a kid and you were going to the track with your dad when that was going on. Is that okay?
Yeah. My profile picture is Team Ingles Racing right now. Yeah, absolutely. Tried and true right there. That's where my roots are from. My dad, I was born, raised into this. This is a lifestyle for me that I grew up with, and one that I am so blessed to be able to have and have created for my own with Pete. So I grew up, really, my roots started ESTA. That's where we were racing. My dad had, he started off with a 65 Mustang that he was running in mod. And then from there, he ended up with a 69 Barracuda, went Mopar on us. And my mom, she actually, oh my gosh, she had a beautiful 69 Mach 1 Mustang that was her street car. And she said, "Tommy, I want to turn this into a drag car." So he actually turned it into a drag car for her. So a while, my mom raced too.
Okay.
So then my mom got out of it, and my dad was wheeling both the Barracuda and the Mustang. And in 1989, he won Mr. Bracket for racing both cars and winning championships at ESTA.
Wow.
So we raced there for the longest time, and then after that we went to Lebanon Valley, raced there for a number of years, and then my dad is the one that brought us to Skyview. We actually were on our way home from the bracket finals one year, and it was when Skyview first opened, and we went out early, and Dad's like, you know, I hear there's a new track up the hill. Why don't we head up there?
Yeah.
So Dad pulled the rig up there. They were already in first round. He bought into buybacks, made a couple passes, went I think a couple rounds, and next thing I know, the next season we were racing at Skyview. So that's my roots are from, you know, my dad big he won the bracket finals in 1998. He did some quick rod in racing too. He had the throttle stop on the Corvette, did some divisionals, the divisional at Skyview, different things like that, a couple track championships. So definitely I had one of the best teachers out there, and in my opinion, he's a legend in my eyes, absolutely. Unfortunately, we did lose him 11 years ago to cancer.
Sorry about that.
His memory lives on.
And so much. And like it's like he's my favorite person in the world to talk about, just because he's a superstar in my eyes, you know, and like, you know, and I'm so grateful to him to you know, build this foundation for this life that I have. So fast forward, and Pete comes into my life. We got together in 2006, and
now hold on. I have another prediction to make.
All right.
I'm going to predict that you met Pete at the drag strip.
Oh, actually, our story starts long before that.
Oh, you are so off on that one.
Yeah. So Pete has actually always been in my life. I just didn't know that 10 years later, almost 11 years later, we'd be married.
Okay.
You know, so Pete used to come to the drag strip with us. So he used to come to ESTA.
When he was a kid?
Yeah, when he
Not
was
as an adult,
as
a kid.
So he was really good friends with my older brothers. So he used to come to the drag strip. And his favorite story is, one of the best things about ESTA is you'd warm up your car going down the track, and I always had to go with my dad in the car to warm up the cars.
Yep.
And then on the way back up the return road, he would always get on it. And of course, he always had the dad seatbelt. The arm, the dad seatbelt. That was the seatbelt in the car. So he'd always punch it going up the return road, and that was the best part. So Pete to this day will tell you, my dad at the end of the track stops. And he puts $20 bill on the dashboard, and he tells Pete, he says, "I'm going to challenge you to get that $20 bill as soon as we take off." So they take off, and Pete can't get the $20 bill. So really, Pete actually he's always had a need for tinkering with things and different stuff like that, but really my dad had a big impact even on him at a young age. So fast forward, 2006 comes, Pete and I ended up getting together. He was road racing at the time, Honda Challenge.
Oh, really?
Yep, so up and down the East Coast, Mid-Ohio, CMP down in South Carolina, BIR in Virginia, Summit Motorsports, different things like that. So, he was doing Honda Challenge at the time. That's like a total reverse of what we do with drag racing.
Yeah.
That is just, that took me out of my element 100%. But it was really cool experience to have. So the first year that we were together, we were down to CMP in South Carolina, and Pete was doing what Pete does. Pete was helping out a buddy. He needed some tabs welded into his car so that he could pass inspection the next morning for his belts. Yeah. Pete had an accident and unfortunately cut his thumb off with a cutting wheel. Oh. So we found ourselves at a hospital in Podunk, Camden.
We did this at the track.
Yeah. I mean, talk about testing a relationship. We haven't even been together a year, and your boyfriend walks over to you holding his thumb at 8 o'clock at night after you just pulled in. Honey, we have to go to the hospital. Yeah, we do. So Pete ended up having surgery the week after that. We found a great doctor, great surgeon in Oneonta that got him all back together, but he ended up taking some time off. So we went to Skyview and watched Dad race. Okay. And hung out there, and Pete was like, I really like this. And next thing I know, that winter, we got my Quay car. He had a Buell X1 Lightning Harley Davidson. Okay. And he's like, you know what? I can be done with two wheels. He's like, so he got rid of that, and we traveled down to Kentucky and picked up his first S10, and here we are making things better together.
I would say, that it's really strange. Now, obviously, he still had an influence with your dad, but it is definitely strange to hear somebody these days that it isn't involved in drag racing through their family. In most cases, it's usually, I either married into it or I grew up with it, one or the other. So, I mean, the fact that Pete basically got kind of sucked into it, if you will, outside of his family, I'm curious.
I turned him over to the right
side. The dark side.
Yes, I brought him over to the right side.
Now, I'll ask the same question to you, Kathy. Now, how did you get started in drag racing?
Well, it's funny because we were talking as we were driving here. We arrived at points in our lives from we came from totally different areas. Okay. So I did not drag race. I was dating a circle track racer. Okay. So that's really the most that I knew, and that relationship didn't wind up working out.
What are we talking circle track? Asphalt or dirt?
Asphalt. Asphalt modified. Sorry.
Chris is like, eh.
But that relationship didn't work out, and then Don and I got together in the middle of race season, and it's funny because he told me the story that any girlfriend he had was always in the off-season months because they didn't understand the commitment that drag racing is, and drag racing is a financial and a time commitment. Yep. We just don't spend time at the strip, at the drag strip. When we're home, we're racing, we're fixing cars, right, working on cars, and so on and so forth. So he always told me, I had a great relationship with somebody from like January to March, and then it all fell apart, and they'd leave me. Yep. Well, he and I met in the middle of drag racing season, and we were dating for about 3 weeks, and I said, can I come up to the racetrack and watch you race? And he was kind of like, yeah.
And I'm sure he prefaced it too the same way. I'm going to be busy. I'm racing. I'm working on the car. You want to come out and hang out? That's fine.
Absolutely.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to have a lot of time to spend with you. Right?
Correct. And then that's actually how it worked. I showed up, and he kind of got me acclimated, and he put me up at the fence because our pit spots were right by the fence, so I could see the track. And he said, I'm going to go race right now. You watch, and I'll answer any questions you might have. But I was kind of on my own. So I watched all of the races happen, and he came back around and came up to the fence and said, what do you think? Do you have any questions? And I said, I pretty much understood it. I got everything. I said, the only thing I feel bad for is this guy in the black Corvette. He brakes on the line every time, but then his car keeps going again. He's like, throttle stop racing. And that's how I learned about Tommy Ingalls. Okay. That's the first time I ever met or saw Tommy, because I thought he was the broke Corvette, and I felt sorry for the man. Little did I know he was a champion drag racer at the time. But so we were together for the first season that Skyview opened, which was in the middle of the year. Okay. And then we continued on with our relationship. And the next year, I said to him, I would like to drag race. Okay. I would like to try it.
The next year?
Yes.
Okay.
I said, I want to try it. I've always been a tomboy and a daredevil.
Okay.
So I like new things, and I'm not scared of much.
Okay.
So I said I want to drag race. Well, silly me, I thought that meant I was going to get a drag car.
Yeah.
He made me get in my grocery getter.
Okay.
The turtle.
The turtle, yes, nicknamed the turtle, in street class, and I was mortified. This is not what I wanted. I want a race car.
You want a real race car.
I want a real race car. Yeah. But I won street class rookie of the year.
Okay.
I was the rookie that finished the highest in the points in street class. Yeah. So the next year I moved to the El Camino. He souped up my El Camino for me, and I was going down the 8th mile at 8:60, thinking I was flying, baby. I was doing 8:60. I was doing like 14 seconds in my turtle. So I was flying. And I won Pro Class Rookie of the Year. So I was really, really happy about that. But the kicker of the story is that in the middle of my Pro Class season, I said to Don, I want to race Super Pro. I want to race Super Pro. I'd never raced with a box, but I'd been around him. He had shown me everything and so on and so forth. He's like, are you sure that you want to race Super Pro? I said, yes, I do. He goes, all right, I'm going to make a deal with you. The first Pro Class race that you win, that next season, you will move up into Super Pro.
Okay.
So Bobby Hacker, who was a Super Pro racer, was standing there, and he says, I heard him, even though Bobby tried to whisper. He said to my husband, how long do you think it's going to take her to win a Pro Class race? He said, 3-4 years. Okay. About a month later, I made it to the finals in Pro Class. Uh-huh. And every Super Pro racer, God bless them all, were down there on the starting line. And they weren't there to cheer me on. They were there to see my win light come on so they could laugh at my husband. Because when my win light came on, her father turned and went, and a Super Pro racer was born the next year. And I've been one ever since, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It is the most... Racers don't get it, and I realize we're a different breed, and some people think we're an odd breed, but there is nothing that I like better than the ability to get in my race car. And you can't worry about what's going on at work when you're in your race car. You can only focus on racing, and it is such a joy. It is such a lifestyle for all of us, and we're family. We have a huge family there. We're all together to support each other, but it's like nothing that I've ever encountered before. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So I guess there's a couple of things. I mean, number one, I will completely agree and say there's nothing else like it. Unfortunately, I will say that for whatever reason, I don't know why my household seems to have a knack for having emergencies at home when I'm at the racetrack. So Phil Harnden,
There's been a lot of times where it's been an emergency. We're just sitting post-production.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not in the house, the sky falls.
Right. Well,
inevitably.
Literally the one time when I was at the racetrack, was this last year? No, it wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago. I'm at the racetrack, and so I have my phone there, like most people, but it's like when I'm racing, I'm looking at the computer, the weather, I'm maintaining the car, doing other things, so I'm not generally looking at my phone. It's like every once in a while I'll check it to see if I have a text message. So I told my wife, I'm like, look, if you need to get in touch with me, text me, and I'll get back to you when I can. Well, I have an Apple Watch, too. So my phone rings, my wrist is vibrating. So it's like my wrist is vibrating. I'm out working on the car, and so I look, and it's my wife. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? So if she's calling, it must be something that she needs me for. So I go in, the stove is on fire. What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, well, I know what you're not supposed to do is call your husband who is an hour away from home right now because there's nothing that I can do to help you, right? So from that standpoint, it's nice to not have to worry about generally those types of things, but I still have them, thrust upon me whether I want them or not. And all that said, I will say that, yes, racing is fun. It can be very fun to do, but it also can obviously be very frustrating at times as well. And my wife has asked me multiple times, why do you do this if you don't like it? And it's like, I do like it, and I might seem grumpy while I'm at the track, but it can be aggravating. That's all it is. You're always learning, you're always trying to improve things and strive, and not everything always goes your way, but you got to figure out how to fix those things.
Yep. Taking a transmission out 6 weeks in a row out of a car and hoping you fix it. Yeah, we understand that. Yeah, totally understand that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say Phil's car, the car was going right essentially instantly at the hit, and it was over the course of 2 seasons where it was every week we would go out, we'd make a couple of passes. It's like, nope, didn't get it fixed, take it back home, take wheels and tires off, up on jack stands, going through the 4-link again, putting it on scales, making adjustments. Sorry, put it all back together again. Let's try it again. Nope, still trying to kill me at the starting line, and rinse and repeat over the course of 2 years, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And yeah, you get to the point where, you go out there, I won't say you're pretty darn sure what you did during the week isn't going to fix this. It's like, you're hoping for a miracle. You let go of the button, the car goes instantly right, you hang your head in shame, you're like, I just can't believe it, right? It can, like I said, it can definitely try your patience for sure.
Well, that's why my philosophy is when my car runs on alcohol, so it's only fitting that, when the suit gets hung up, that I run on alcohol afterwards. That's probably about the only way to get through it. Now,
so we had Cody on a couple of weeks ago. I'm curious. So
Cody Riom's in the live chat.
Okay.
Hi,
Cody. So Cody has unfriended Crystal.
What did I do now?
Because you wore an S&W shirt to the show.
Oh, I did wear my FM.
Oh.
Cody, I have a bone to pick with you, though. My shirt's too big. I need a smaller one. It's a girl thing. I'm sorry. It's nothing personal.
So yeah, when Cody was on, we talked about alcohol, and I will say that Ben Height and Chris Scarlotta have been essentially, at this point, I guess I would say they've convinced me to go to alcohol with my car.
Yep.
So are both of you? So Crystal, you've already said you're running alcohol. Now, Kathy, are you running alcohol?
Absolutely. Now, I used to run E85.
Okay.
So I ran E85 in the little truck the whole time that I had it, but the big truck is on alcohol, and it's a breeze to run. It's consistent. It's cool. On the hot days, I can cool that truck down in very short order. So really like the alcohol. Plus, I hated having to haul. I mean, you can get alcohol just about at any track, but don't think you can get E85 at any track.
Right.
So I would have to haul, 25 gallons of alcohol of E85 because you didn't know if you were going to get it or not. So it made it a lot easier when we switched over to...
How flexible is that E85? I mean, if you have E85 in the system, you have to purge it to run the alcohol through it?
So if you're going to switch from E85 to methanol?
Yeah, like let's say you ran...
Well, we actually changed. We had a new whole converter built and a new whole...
So you can't just mix them. You do have to...
you don't just mix.
Yeah, so you have to completely change it. I don't know what your experience was with E85. I know Billy Lieber's running...
Magnum ping like crazy.
I had good luck in my truck with E85, but don't forget, my truck wasn't going, that fast. It was going, high fives, so it's not that fast. But we had good success with my truck on E85, knock on wood. But we've had equally good success on alcohol. So now, what Cody Riom didn't tell you when Cody was on, hi Cody. Cody was one of my junior dragster kids. So my husband and I were privileged to sponsor the junior dragster program at Skyview for many, many years.
Oh.
So I knew Cody when he was 8 years old. Kid.
I say we got
in his junior dragster.
I say we got to find pictures of Cody when he was 8 years old.
I have some on my. I have at least one on my Facebook page. You have to look to know that that's Cody. But there's a picture of it. It's the family picture. Yeah. There's a whole group of us standing there. It's the whole racing family, and Cody is just a little kid. But he was one of my junior dragster kids, and we had many of the kids that did not for whatever reason, continue on into the big racing. Sometimes financials aren't there. Sometimes, there's just not the time, or there's just not the interest. But at Empire, I am so privileged to be racing against several of my junior kids that are now adults racing in cars. And I can't tell you how that makes me feel to look over and see, I'm racing Morgan Burgess, or I'm racing Cody Riome, or I'm racing Tony Ordillo Jr. And this year I'm going to race Hannah Geringer. Hannah, if you beat me, I will whip you. She was a baby when I knew her. But it's a great privilege for me to be able to race. They're our future, they're our next generation. And when I get a chance to race them, it's really just an awesome time. And Cody and I have raced a lot against each other.
Oh, really?
Yes. Morgan and I, not so much, a couple times. Tony and I, not so much.
So it looks like...
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of, but that's one, and I think Cody's in there. Yep. That was some of my juniors. We had a huge junior program, as you can tell. We were just blessed. At one point in time, at one of our races, we had 42 juniors. So we were really blessed to have a great program at Skyview. But like I said, what came out of that was my joy of being able to race against my kids.
Sure. So. Now, I'm curious, it seemed like Skyview wasn't around all that long.
No.
Do you know, I think we got into this a little bit with Cody, but
Skyview the same track that had a dirt surface on the premises too?
Yes.
It had an asphalt.
Oh, it was an asphalt.
Dirt.
Oh, it was asphalt. Okay. Mm-hmm. What happened at Skyview?
We don't really know. We just knew when it was time for us to move on.
Yeah.
We just made that decision, and were there regrets? Sure, but we don't really know the ins and outs of all the things that happened. It was just, we just knew when it was time, and it was time.
Yeah.
So.
Now, one thing we didn't get into, and I'm curious to hear this story too, and I'm guessing I know the answer, but I was right once and wrong once. So how did you, Kathy, and Crystal become such good friends? Was it just from the racetrack, just from the drag strip?
We were pit neighbors.
Pit neighbors. Actually,
at Skyview.
We were very good friends with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy and Joy are only maybe a few years older than us, so there's a 16-year age gap between me and Crystal, and a 16-year age gap between Pete and Don. So it's kind of an unlikely scenario that we wound up being as good friends as we are, but we were pit neighbors. We just kind of got to be really, really good friends. And when we lost Tommy, I think that just made it more plausible that friendship had to continue between the Curpiers and the Kiekels. Losing Tommy was a terrible blow for everybody. He was so loved, and he was such an amazing racer. I was telling Crystal, I didn't know if I had told her the story, but when I did my first Super Pro race, my first ever race in Super Pro, Don went down first so that he could make the pass first and then get back around to watch me. And so I was all the way in the back of the track. And that was back when we had like 25 Super Pro racers. So it wasn't a big field, but it was a decent field. And I was in my truck, and I was shaking. I was very nervous. And anyhow, my side door, my driver's door opens, and there's her dad, who got out of his race car, stopped his race program to come over to a rookie who was nervous and just say, "You run your race. Don't worry about what the other guy's doing in their lane. You just focus on yourself." And, that was her dad. Her dad was always just the kindest man ever. And from that relationship formed the basis for what became just probably the Curpiers are two of our closest, dearest friends. So.
Well, I would say, Crystal, you didn't, I don't know, maybe Kathy told you. So Kathy and I spoke originally about having her and Don come on the show. I'm going to say it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was probably. Like 2 years ago. Yeah.
So as you could probably tell, Kathy was very excited to come on the show.
Don, guess who wasn't?
Don, not so much. And it was like, well, that's okay. And it's like, well, you can come on yourself. And Kathy's like, I don't want to make the trip up by myself. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Maybe another time. So when I reached out to Kathy again enthusiastically, yes, but, and I'm like, okay, where's this going? She's like, I want to have, Crystal's got to be on with me. And I mean, immediately, there was no hesitation at all. You absolutely positively had to come on with Kathy. So I was like, hey,
Thanks, Kat.
Yep.
We like to refer to ourselves as dinks.
Yes, dinks.
Double income, no kids.
Right.
Yeah, we're the dink part of the crowd.
So, that's why there's 3 horses in the stable, and, all of that stuff comes with that dink philosophy.
There's no doubt that it's definitely easier to justify spending the money on race cars, right, when you don't have little kids at home, potentially, that you need to
Well, now we have little
on.
kids, okay? Just be careful on the little kid scenario.
Okay.
My little kid is 27 pounds. He has 4 feet. He's going to be 6 years old in May. And she has 2 little kids, but they're not so little. I'll let her explain about her little kids.
Yes, yeah. I have a gigantic motorhome that's actually a dog crate. It's, we just happen to get to sleep in the king size bed with them on the weekends when we're done. But yeah, the air conditioner runs for them. They are very well known at the track. We have Carver and Mickey. Mickey actually named himself because we run Mickey's on the race cars, and he was just sitting next to, we hadn't fully named him yet, and he was sitting next to one of the race cars, and we're like, well, know what your name is. And then Carver comes from his dad with the woodworking, but yeah, those are our fur babies. They go everywhere with us. They're known at the racetrack.
Yep. And don't think that we don't sing "Oh Mickey, You're So Fine" to Mickey, because we do. He knows that's his song.
Well, the way that you guys go racing on a weekly basis out at Empire, it totally makes sense because you're going down on Friday, staying overnight.
Two nights. Friday night, Saturday night, yep.
Right, and then driving home on Sunday, right?
Yes.
So if you have dogs,
they come with us.
They're part of it.
That's the easiest thing to do, right? Is
yes.
Bring them along with you. Otherwise, you're trying to find someone to take care of them with you.
Yeah, that would never work. So we've been blessed with dogs that like to travel, and that aren't afraid of race cars.
Yeah, now that can be a challenge as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
So now, at this point, here we are, 44 minutes into, in theory, an hour-long show, and Chris is shaking his head because it's pretty typical. And that's another thing too, that what people find is that we'll have people that are nervous for a couple of reasons. Number one, they'll be nervous because it's like, oh, do I have to study beforehand? It's like, no, you don't have to study because we're just going to talk about whatever we feel like talking about. Yep. But yeah, the other thing, it's like people are like, geez, an hour. I don't know if I'll be able to talk for an hour. Now I
warned you.
I will say yes. You did warn me coming on. It's like, well, geez, we're never going to be able to fit it in an hour. And, so that's pretty clear at this point. But we talked a little bit before the show. Here we are. It's going to be May 15th on Saturday, right?
Yes.
And finally, we're going to have an opportunity to go to the racetrack this weekend.
The beautiful, redone every year upgrades track that we are so blessed to race at. So yes, we cannot wait. And actually, we have 2 little things to talk about for the racetrack that we just wanted to make sure everybody is aware of. And Crystal's going to go first because hers comes first.
Okay.
So she'll tell you a little bit about what's going on at Empire for the middle of July.
Yeah, so at Empire we have coming up the 4th annual 75 Hundo is put on by our awesome race director for this, John Sierra, at Empire Dragway. He does a fabulous job with this race. So it's the dates for that this year have changed to Friday, July 16th through Sunday, July 18th. So on Friday, the gates are going to open at 3 p.m. with one time shot starting at 5 p.m. The entrance fee for the Gamblers race that's going to take place that night, it's a box and no box cars, 2 separate races. Entrance fee is $100 with $50 buyback, and that is $3,000 to win. So that's definitely a good warm-up race for sure. Yep. I've always enjoyed that Friday night race. And then Saturday, Sunday, you got your main events for that 75 Hundo. Gates open at 8:30. It looks like one-time shot starting at 9:30. Box cars and no box are going to be ran in 2 separate classes. Entry fee for that race is $250 with $75 buybacks. Double enter is $450. I love the double enter. I double enter. I have to just remember to take the T off my car between each classes. or each runs, but I love that. I love the fact that it gives you the opportunity to go deep into rounds, and I've been fortunate to go deep, and I'm going to knock one of these down, John. Be ready to write my name on that check. And then entry fee for just the Saturday or Sunday race is $150. Your crew is $20. And for the weekend, it's $40. It's a great time. It really is. We've
loved it.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Last year we had Trainwreck. This year we're supposed to have it the original weekend, but it sounds like it's a band.
Yeah.
So this year, I don't know, Greco, if you can make some stuff happen, we promise we'll show you another good time. So I'm gonna plug Trainwreck there if you guys want to make it.
But don't bring your car.
I promise. We'll show you another good time at Empire.
Oh.
All right, Kathy, your turn.
All right, so we kind of split. So I have, let's face it, bracket racing isn't really a spectator sport. It's mostly the racers and the race families and everything.
Sure.
It's not like heads-up racing. It's not like, no prep racing and so on and so forth. So we don't get a lot of spectators, but every once in a while we put on some really special shows that we get a lot of spectators for.
Yep.
So we got one coming up on July 31st. First of all, we're running our full program. So just to let everybody know, we have a street class. Bring your street car down, pay your money, get some racing under the belt.
Absolutely.
Remember me and my grocery getter. That's how I started. We got pro class. That's no electronics. We got super pro class. That's the electronics. It's the faster class, although there's some really fast cars in pro as well. Plus, in addition to that, we have our 200 plus mile an hour pro mods coming. Love to see the pro mods.
My favorite class.
Everybody likes top fuel. I love pro mods. Gates open at 9. Spectators just $25, and that's a full access pit pass. So you pay your $25. You come in. You want to go to our bathroom. You want to go get some concession. You want to walk up and down the pits and see the cars. You come to our pits, and you got little kids. We'll put them in the car. You can take the picture of the kids in the car. We love stuff like that. My husband's lifting kids in and out of the dragster. We love to see the kids. So it's a huge day of great racing for us. Remind everybody, check us out at www.empiredragway.com. We're also on Facebook, Empire Dragway. So please come and enjoy. We really appreciate it.
I didn't realize that we were bringing the Empire PR team into the studio.
Well, we wanted to do a little plug for the racetrack that we love. They're so good to us. I don't know if everybody is aware of all of the upgrades and updates that Jerry and Clara have put into this track every year.
I would say the last time was Cody our last guest? Or no?
Yeah, Cody was 2 weeks ago.
So Cody was 2 weeks. So when Cody was on...
He kept the schedule for now 2 shows in a row.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yes, it's amazing. When Cody was on, at that point in time, it had already been announced that, hey, we're not opening this weekend. We have another big upgrade that we're going to be making. But Jerry hadn't announced what that was. Right. And Cody's like, yes, I know what it is, but I'm sworn to secrecy. I can't say anything. So, if we just have regular viewers on the show, they don't know that Jerry basically has just paved the shutdown from, I don't know how far. I know starting at the 8th mile, but... Yeah,
all the way to the first turnoff. So, if anybody has raced there, once you go through the traps and you're heading towards, shutdown heaven, it isn't heaven. It was pretty bumpy. You'd have to hug the center line so you weren't going down the He paved all of that. Not all the way to the back end. He'll finish that next year. Sorry, Jerry, just committed you there. But to the first turnoff that we have. So that's lovely. He has widened all of the pits. So now not only
that is huge.
Yeah, it's massive. Oh. So you got 16 feet in the middle, and then you got 10 feet on either end. That's all paved. Got rid of all of those stones that were there.
Yep.
They have put so much money into that track that we're proud to support the track in return for everything that they have done for the racers.
Hence the 3-hour drive we do.
Right.
Yes, 150 miles an hour, 150 miles one way is not an issue when you have a track owner that thinks that highly of the racers and the race program. So.
Yeah, it is really fantastic. Obviously it's, I guess, my adopted home track because I grew up in Buffalo, so I raced at Lancaster for a long, long time. And then when I moved to Rochester, I started racing at Empire, and I've been going there since, late 80s, I guess, going there regularly myself. And Bob Metcalf owned the track at the time, and love Bob. He always treated me very, very well.
We loved Bob too. He was great. We always enjoyed when we could come and race when Bob had the track as well.
Yeah.
He just didn't.
He didn't have the means.
He just didn't.
He
Correct.
didn't have the means.
And that's not a slam on him, because he did the best with everything that he had, and we loved coming there. It was really great.
Yeah.
So.
But it is so nice now. I mean, with Jerry. I mean, obviously it's his passion. He doesn't need to do it if he doesn't want to. No. But it's what he wants to do. And the upgrades that Jerry and Clara have put into the track are just absolutely incredible. The pit road thing has always been huge for me. And it was something that I used to complain about. Bob had a strict rule that there was supposed to be no parking in the road, but nobody wanted to park in the pits because of the stones. So
Correct.
People were parking in the road anyways. And the biggest issue was, like I said, the road was narrow. There was enough room to get through, but the biggest issue that I had, yes, the hood scoop was an issue, but as the sun was setting, it is right in your windshield as you're driving down the return road
with that big scoop.
Right, and you can't see. And I complained to Bob multiple times. I complained to Jerry multiple times. Sorry, not Bob, because Bob would throw you out if you found you pitted that way. But I complained to Jerry multiple times, like, Jerry, look, I understand why people are doing it, but someone's going to get hurt. There's going to be a little kid that's going to run out, and you're not going to be able to see him. And there's no place to go because it's lined with cars. And when I saw that he paved the pit roads there and widened it, I was like, oh my God. I had heard about the stones, getting rid of the stones, and I figured when I heard he widened it, I thought, okay, he's going to widen it like, a couple feet.
He went Jerry style.
Yeah.
Yes, he went big. We go big or we go home. So we did want to talk a little bit about a couple bracket finals stories that we had. So we were talking on the way up here. We were reminiscing. We've been to a lot of bracket finals together. Neither one of us went last year. That was a conscientious decision.
Yeah, sure.
Bracket finals had changed a little bit, and we just opted to stay at Empire and run the gamblers races instead. But we've always been to bracket finals, other than the fact that we missed last year. So I always remember I was blessed to have won the bracket finals. It was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
I can imagine.
But the fun thing about it was that two quick stories on it. First of all, we got down to 7 cars, and 4 of them were from Skyview.
Oh,
that was just, I had never seen that before. And one of them was my husband. My husband and I were so I had to race a Skyview teammate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I won that race. My husband lost his race.
Okay.
And Jesse Alberts, who was the other racer, he won his race. Well, when we got down to the final 2, it was me and Jesse.
Wow.
So we were both, it was an all Skyview final, and I've never forgotten it. I don't see Jesse a lot, but every time I do see him, it's always like, I will always have the fondest memory of you, but
beating you.
I don't know if he has the fondest memory of me,
right.
But I have the fondest memory. But the one thing that I do remember about the bracket finals was it was the year following Tommy's death. And Jesse Alberts was a great racer. He had been racing a long time, and this was only my second year in Super Pro.
Yeah.
And I was in my little truck, and I remember saying to the heavens, Tommy, if you're up there, I really need some help. Because Jesse's a great racer, and I'm not sure I got enough to do this. And no lie, I saw Tommy.
Uh-huh.
He was there at that racetrack, and I'll never forget that. And when my win light came on, the other part of the story is that as I was coming off of the turn road and realized I had just won the bracket finals, there was a mother and her little girl standing there, and her little girl was maybe 6-7 years old, and I could see her mother leaning down saying, that's a girl that just won the bracket finals. Yeah. I have no idea who this little girl is, but if you ever went racing, honey, I hope you're racing. I remember you. I don't know if you ever remember me, but I remember you. You were the first one I saw with the mother saying, it's a girl that just won.
Very cool.
And then Crystal does have an amazing bracket final story. She was able to do something that Don and I have never been able to do. So she's got one too.
And we went down in 2018, and ran a perfect package at first round of the bracket finals, and it's like, of all the wins that you can have, final round showings, all of these other things that you can do in racing, that was probably the most amazing thing I've ever done in my racing career. So it was first round. I mean, it's one thing to turn the win light on first round at the bracket finals. Sure. There's no buybacks. There's no anything. Yeah. You don't want to be that loser that doesn't get the point for your team. You want to at least get 1 point for your team. So, I was dialed, I'm probably going to get my numbers wrong, but I think I was dialed 471, and we were night racing, and Pete had just thrown a flashlight in my glove box because it's really dark at the end of Keystone. A Keystone Raceway when you're coming up the return road and hitting the time shack. So he had thrown that in there just so that I had it if I wanted to look at my time slip, anything like that. So I was running a 620 door car. He left. I left. I'm like, I hit the tree good. All right. So I'm coming up on him, and I just gave it 3 rips, rip, and I see it come up 71-0, and I'm like, awesome. Well, I did my job. I ripped enough out of it because clearly I was going to break out. And I get off the return road, and I'm going up to the time shack, and the time shack person is just going nuts. And I'm like, well, okay, yay, I won. Awesome. You know, I'm really excited too. So I'm like, well, I did go a 0. So I'm like fumbling for my flashlight, and I look at my time slip, and I'm like, holy shit, I just went a perfect run. I could not get back to the pits fast enough. And it was really cool because you would have thought I won the bracket finals that day. The people that were just lined up on my way back to my pit spot, just in the road, clapping, cheering, just, you know, I mean, and like, even like, you know, I race with some of the top-notch racers, Jack Riome, Don Kiekel, my husband, you know, the list goes on and on and on. And like, I remember even talking to, you know, some of them about that, and they're like, we've been racing, you know, twice as long as you have. We've never had a perfect package. Sure. That is phenomenal for someone to be able to do that. And I think it's even cooler that I was like, rip, okay. You know, so that was definitely that probably is one of the highlights of my racing career.
Do you still have the time ticket?
I have the time ticket. Is in a glass picture frame, and then one of the cool things that sits right next to it is because they always have the professional photographers at the racetrack. Yeah. So Kathy had a magazine. It looks like a magazine. Cover of my perfect run, and it's a picture of my car, and it's like all titled Crystal Curpier, goes with all the incrementals and running the perfect package. So I have that to remember it as well, because
now, I could be a total jerk here, right? So the big question, and I'm wondering if Jeff Jackson is asking this because he's a jerk.
He pointed out that you like punishment.
So what was the margin of victory?
I don't know off the top of my head. Darn.
So
probably had a lot more room to get out of it than I did.
She doesn't know off the top of her head, but she definitely remembers rip.
Right.
Listen, when that was probably my first season in that car, and it takes a little while when you're going 150 miles an hour coming up on a car 100 miles an hour you know, now it's like I have enough seat time, but you know, even for that being my first season in a car going that fast, that was I probably could have given myself some more room. Thanks for that one.
Well, I will say that I don't believe I've ever had a perfect package.
You would know if you did.
Yeah, and I will say, and that's one of the reasons why I'm saying I don't think I ever have, because I would guess that I would remember that. I will say that I remember having some ridiculous races. And unfortunately, the ridiculous races never seem to go my way. But I lost a race. I remember losing a race up at Cayuga, racing Super Gas, where I was 004, 990 with a 2 to lose because my competitor, my good friend John McGowan, he was 003, 990 with a 1. And I'm like, are you freaking serious right now? What the heck? There was a time at Lancaster, maybe 5 or 6 years ago in qualifying, and they go to, I guess, 4 decimal places it is after the digit. So after qualifying, I had gone in the second pass. I was 70001. I'm like, yes, I got the bye run first round. So I pull in for the bye run. The guy's waving me off, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, 70001, baby. I got the bye run. And it's like, nope, Ted Barnes, he went 700, and I'm like, It's like I can't get a break, you know?
When I had that perfect package, I thought I was a shoo-in for the buy run for the second round, and come to find out I had like 0004 and the other guy had 0001. And really perfect package. I feel your pain on that one for sure. It's pretty cool too. You asked about, you know, like do I have that time ticket? Absolutely. But I also have two trophies for my dad because he had 2 perfect packages too. So it's like this whole little.
2. He had 2. He was blessed with 2. Yes. Was it 2 in the same year?
2 in the same year, and I believe it was the same year he won the bracket finals.
Wow. Yeah. I say you guys got to go to the fling races, right? Because they have, is it 50,000? Trying to remember what it is. They pay
something ridiculous.
So they pay a bonus if you run, and I think it might be just in qualifying. But if you run a perfect package in qualifying, they give you some type of bonus. It's a lot of money. It's more than I know. It's more than $5,000.
Well, I would love to have one someday. So, but I have never gotten there.
Now, I guess, you know, we haven't even talked. I mean, we talked a little about Empire. We talked about kind of being excited about, you know, what the plans are for Empire this season. But we haven't talked about your individual racing programs and what you guys are doing. You know, what is new for this year?
Well, we talked a little bit about Don's Roadster, so that's new for him. When I met him, he had an altered, so I'm kind of used to seeing that. But he's been in the long, skinny other side, darn dragster rails. So he's been in that for a long time. So the Roadster will be new for him. So I'm anxious to see him go down the track in that. It's a beautiful car. We were very lucky to get it.
What kind of Roadster?
Well, first of all, you may know it. It was Doug Linden's world champion.
Oh, okay.
It's that Roadster.
Yep.
I can't tell you much beyond that. I can tell you what Don's original car was, but it was a 32 Bantam altered. But this one I don't know yet. But it is a lovely car, and we're glad to have a world championship car under our belts. We got it from Joey LaRose. Yeah. So that's new for us. Don wants to run the quick 16s in the dragster. He started doing that last year. No, maybe 2 years ago. So he's been running it, you know, as often as he can. He likes that. I'm the same in my truck. I run Super Pro. I loved index racing. I liked throttle stop racing. So would I do that again? Yeah, I would. I would be interested in doing that. But I'm not a double enter girl. I'm the lone standout in the racing family if I only enter once. Don's a double enter. Pete and Crystal are double enters. Cody and Jack are double enters. I'm the weird one. I'm single enter.
Well, I have to say I don't know if. There's probably been a time where I've double entered, but in general, I'm not a double entry guy either.
Yeah, it's just not my thing.
I mean, I'm out there to have fun and relax, and it's not that I don't like spending time in my race car, because I do, but I feel like when I'm double entering, I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and I get down to the end of the night, and it's like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted. But
we are excited that bracket finals will be at Dragway 42 this year. So we are back to wanting to run bracket finals. We loved Keystone. Nothing against Keystone. That's not it. But it's now going to be someplace different. So we're excited to go out to Ohio, and hopefully we will both qualify. That will be our goal, is to qualify.
So if they've taken it, is it going to be a permanent move as far?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be permanent or not. I know a lot of people have said we'd love to have bracket finals at Empire. Quite honestly, they're not really a money maker, so I'm not sure how Jerry would feel about that. But we're excited that they're at Dragway 42, and we're excited to see the track. That's a track we've never been at.
Oh, you've never been to Dragway 42?
No. We're kind of running out of time. I do have a quick kind of funny story, really quick, at one of the bracket finals.
So our time limit is when Chris says we're done.
Okay. So I'll go real quick, Chris. Don't cut me off mid-sentence. So don't cut me off. So this is just kind of humorous to know about bracket finals.
So you know, right? All of this conversation, all of these awesome things that are happening in drag racing. I'm over here scratching my head trying to figure out, since we're logged into Jason's Facebook, because I got locked out of mine, how do we shut this off?
You mean you don't know how to shut us off? Oh, Crystal, honey.
So I'm just trying to figure out that if Jason ever does let us leave, we got to figure out how to shut it off somehow.
So
but
maybe you just fade to
I
black.
got brave. Well, the thing is we fade to black.
No, I mean, just like literally turn the lights off and just let it keep running.
But so I was doing a video 2 weeks ago, and they said it'll be quick, which was the kiss of death. It didn't go quick. It went so long, in fact, that Facebook gave me a warning and said, you have 10 more minutes. And we're going to shut you off.
Oh.
Facebook shuts the live stream off at 8 hours.
Oh.
So we cut it and had to go for another 2. So after we hit the 10-hour mark, I sent a polite note to the gentleman in charge saying, stop already.
Right, yes. Please stop.
Yeah, so I got brave. I figured, what's the worst that could possibly happen? It'll just kick us off, and
we'll have to restart the stream.
We'll just start right back at the beginning.
Right.
We'll just redo the whole thing, and it brought me to the screen where I need to be. So now I can figure out at least that we can end this when it's done. End it when it ends.
Okay. Well, let's go back to Kathy to your
so you're good.
So this
Dragway
is
42
just
story.
Cute. Nope, not a Dragway 42.
Oh.
So bracket finals used to be quarter mile, eighth. Quarter mile, eighth. Now they're all eighth, but that's not how it used to be. So we were, of course, when we were at Skyview, it was an 8th mile track,
right.
just like Jerry runs 8th mile.
Right.
So we got into the bracket finals at Quaker City. Quaker City is a lovely little track with that uphill
burn.
Yes, it's the most amazing thing to see. So we were running 8th mile at Skyview, but that was the year at Quaker City bracket finals were quarter mile. So we had a racer. I guess I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but it is a cute story.
Okay.
So he's in first round, and of course, Crystal said you always want to score at least 1 point for your bracket finals team. Otherwise, you just feel like the biggest schmoo there is.
Yeah.
So we're quarter mile racing. We've come from an 8th mile track, but we're quarter mile racing. He's in the first round. Off he goes with that fast drag jerk.
I have a feeling I know what you're going to say,
Pulled
but go
the chute
ahead.
at the 8th mile.
No.
Realized he had pulled the chute at the 8th mile. Now he gets back into it with the chutes in full bloom. It's like, oops, you're not going to win that round. And he came back. We had a laugh at his expense because it was freaking funny. But he felt really, really bad. But so I did not name you Jimmy, so nobody knows his last name. I didn't name you Jimmy, but I have never forgotten seeing those chutes come billowing out going, not yet, not yet.
Oh, and I'm sure it's like at this point he's like, after he realizes.
Oh yeah, because he got right back into it as soon as he realized
and
it.
he's I'm sure he was thinking in the car, how can I possibly
Cover.
eject them, right?
Yes. What do I do?
It's like, you're done. Well, I will say I've never raced the bracket finals. It's always been something that it's on my list of it's on my bucket list. I guess we'll call it that.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've never done it, and I really like the team environment thing, and just like with the Jegs All Stars, I like the same thing there, and that you pit the different divisions against each other and see who's the best for that particular weekend. And it's nice because it's the same people that you race every weekend. And instead of trying to, gouge each other's eyeballs out, it's like you're there just to cheer each other on and see what you can do.
The bracket finals also offers you, because of that team setting, you have your people that you hang out with everybody, but you have like your core people.
Right.
Bracket finals, like you end up meeting people that you don't
know
normally.
Sure.
That's what I love about the bracket finals is because you come together in a different way where you next thing you know you're sitting next to somebody in a chair that like. I've talked to you, but I've never talked to you the way that in this depth.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about the bracket finals is like the friendships that end up forming from that team event.
Yeah. It's definitely like I said, it's a cool event. I guess the only real prerequisite is that you have to be entered in points at Empire, right?
Yep,
correct. And you have to qualify. Usually we don't have a problem filling a team, but sometimes if you don't qualify high enough, you're on a waiting list to see if someone higher from you is not going to be able to go.
Yep.
And that's always a little stressful to know, okay, am I going to be able to race or am I not going to be able to race?
So you're telling me I'd be like 17th alternate.
Well, you might wind up on a waiting list. You never know. But it is a lot of fun. We sometimes are racing until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We want to be racing until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. That's certainly the goal, is to go as many rounds as possible, is to do the best that you can. So the year that I actually won the bracket finals, I was also the Summit Super Series representative for Skyview.
Okay.
I had won the Summit Super Series as well. So I did the Summit Super Series race first, and I got down to 3 cars. And the previous round I had a buy run, and so I rolled 10 out of my box. I wanted to just see, am I still, right where I need to be? I rolled 10 out of my box. I went 10 red. I thought, okay, I am where I need to be. I rolled the 10 back in my box. Should have rolled like 13 back in my box, but I was an idiot. I thought I had to be perfect for Summit Super Series, and I wound up racing J.P. Schuster, and J.P. Schuster was the world champion that year. He went on to win it. So J.P. and I raced, and I went red. So I got back after the Summit Super Series, and I felt I had really let the team down. I was devastated. I didn't sleep the whole night. I felt really bad. I didn't feel bad for me. I felt like I just had let the team down. And you talk about karma and everything. And so the next day I wound up winning the bracket finals and being okay and scoring some points for my team. I scored points for the team. So we then have raced at Empire. We went to bracket finals for Empire the very first year that we were racing at Empire. So Pete and Crystal weren't there; they were still at ESTA. Don and I went to bracket finals the very first year for Empire, and neither one of us scored a damn point. We were like, they're never going to ask us back. They're going to think, oh my God, why did we invite these people? So the next year, Pete and Crystal were at Empire, and so they also went to bracket finals with us. And I don't know, Crystal became this wild, possessed woman coming to bracket finals. She brought this poster board with she did this amazing job, every racer's name on it, so she could track who got through. She was a possessed woman. It was the most beautiful thing we'd ever seen, and she set it all up, and it was great, and we could all figure out who was still in and who was still earning points and everything. Well, we all sucked. But our junior dragsters racers were just phenomenal, and Empire won the bracket finals because of the junior dragsters. Our kids carried the adults who, once again, Don and I scored 0 points for the team. Jerry, we really want to race for you, but we sucked at the bracket finals.
And I would say that's funny. I didn't realize, honestly, that the juniors scored points for the team.
Absolutely. Our juniors are a huge part.
Conversation. Who do you have on that?
IHRA runs together. They run the juniors at the bracket finals, where NHRA has 2 separate events.
Yeah, and that's what I would have expected. And I'm sure there were probably some tracks, especially the track that came in second, right? That probably had some sour grapes. Was like, oh well, geez, the only reason they won was because they're stupid junior dragsters, right?
Maybe, but
they have the same.
Who cares?
The same opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we were thrilled because that was a track championship, and we got a track championship. Ironman, and it was all because of our junior dragster kids, and some of those kids have gone on now to race in big cars and so on and so forth. So it's just great to see.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we're 15 past the hour.
Told you.
And we've only but scratched the surface, right? But that's okay because we tell
leave meat on the bone.
What was that?
Leave meat on the bone.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself enough that you'd be willing to come back again in the future.
Oh, we would. We'd love to.
And we can start talking about how the racing season's going, or who knows what. And maybe we could get Pete and Don here as well.
He can sit on the couch.
Don will sit on the couch over there. There is no way that he would go on camera and feel comfortable with that, but he would sit on the couch. Pete would do fine, but. My poor husband.
Well, I don't know if you spent any time in Seneca Falls or not, but I've
never been here.
Okay, well,
never been here.
Yeah, in the summertime, I mean, it's downtown Seneca Falls. It's a very nice place to come beforehand and let's say have dinner, a couple cocktails. If you come at Christmas time, because it's the town that supposedly the Wonderful Life was modeled after.
Yeah, it's a Wonderful Life.
Are you sick of it? Is that why you're making the Scrooge face?
We'll go with that.
Go okay. But they have the whole downtown area strung up with lights and stuff like that, and it's nice. So we'll definitely make sure that we get everybody back. But before we let you go tonight, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on, or people you'd like to thank? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What would you like to touch on?
Next week.
Yes.
For the first time in history.
Yes.
There is new surface being laid down and South Butler Dragway.
Oh, really?
The whole thing. They
replaced
the. They needed it.
Did they? I've never been to South Butler.
Last October, Racing Randy the announcer and now the vice president of the organization took a ride in a fairly fast race car, and the shutdown area was like driving through potholes. It was breaking up terrible, because that's the original track surface from when it was King's Dragway in 58, when it was laid down, like when it was basically just a path through a cornfield.
Right.
So they've got some groups coming in. They're going to start the paving operation around the 15th through the 17th, or the 17th. It'll be around the 17th because their first car show is going to be the 22nd.
Okay.
And they're going to race the last Sunday, June, July, August, and September like they did before. But they've now replaced all the original guardrail and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all been done. The track's going to be widened back to the original width, because there's some place where they've lost as much of a foot side to side.
It's narrow.
It's real narrow. So they're going to be taking care of that. And then there was one more thing. NHRA, according to the record books, didn't use a light, starting Christmas tree, until 62, I think, somewhere around there. But they've got the original starting lamp that was used when it was King's Dragway or Warwick's.
That's cool.
That they're digging out from 1958. They got a couple of folks that are going to be making passes on the new surface that ran in 58 and 59.
Oh, very
cool.
And Mr. Warwick is going to be back as well.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's what you want to hear.
Yes.
That's the stuff you want to hear that's going on with drag strips.
Yep.
Yeah, that's super cool. Again,
But unfortunately, I used my quota of words, so I don't get to talk again until December.
I see.
Well, you'll get to introduce the next show a couple weeks from now, and then you get to be quiet. But yeah, that's super cool. I would say South Butler's on my bucket list of places to go compete to. It's historic track around here, and it'd be fun to just make a pass on the Corvette at South Butler for sure. So that's cool to hear that they're doing that.
Much safer now. Because originally they were just going to do the bottom half of the track, just the shutdown area. But the group that they got together with is the same group that redid Spencer a couple years ago.
Okay.
So they got a drag racing background, and they know what they're doing. They said, this is when we're coming. This is the compound. This is what we're going to do. Still going to stay no prep. Yeah. But it's just going to be a lot less craggy.
Right. Well, that's cool. So how did you find that out? Did Racing Randy reach out to you, or?
The motorsports column in the Finger Lakes Times 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right.
That I wrote.
Look at you, doing a little research even, huh? Nice. All right, well, I guess you showed me, huh?
I did.
Well, Crystal and Kathy, anything else for you that you'd like to touch on before we let you go? People you'd like to thank or anything like that?
Well, obviously a shout out to both of our husbands. My husband for helping me and teaching me how to drag race. Thanks, honey. And also a shout out to Pete, who's been just one of the greatest friends we could ever ask for. So,
would you like to shout out to Hannah?
Yes.
Hannah,
I'm giving you the biggest hug and can't wait to see you, honey.
I'm guessing Hannah must be in the chat.
She was in the YouTube chat. She's hanging out by herself in the YouTube chat.
Oh,
thanks for the support.
Thanks,
man.
Hannah.
Yeah, I would mirror off that. Thank you, Pete. I always call him the surgeon, and I'm the surgeon's assistant, and I am so grateful to have him and him to bring the passion that I bring to this sport together. Don and Kathy, I mean, they're there for us week in, week out. So grateful to have them. I want to give a huge shout out to Cody Riom and Finish Line Motorsports. I actually he planted a seed New Year's Eve about a place in Duanesburg that does powder coating.
Okay.
So I decided to send my dragster out. I stripped it right down to nothing and sent it out to have it repowder coated. So now it actually matches the Camaro. It looks pretty badass.
Okay.
And then Cody came down with Jack and they rewired my entire car. So between that and a new set of headers, and I put a new oil pan on my car, I'm hoping to pick up a couple little ones in the ET. So the Miller car should be going a little bit faster, but I just want to give a huge shout out to Cody Rome. Anybody that is looking for any type of wiring, that you've seen what his cars look like, anything like that, he is your man.
Polishing.
He
polishes beautiful.
He
work.
is amazing at what he does, and call that boy right up. Get him some business.
Yep.
So, thank you, Cody. And I'm sorry I didn't wear your shirt.
Well, he did get some business, I will say, from the last show, because Mike Gunther listened to the last podcast and ended up sending me a message and said, hey, you had somebody on a few days ago. I listened to the podcast that does polishing. I have some stuff I want polished. Can you get me in touch with them?
Oh, great.
So, yeah, I know at least you got a little bit of business from that. So, yeah, I was happy.
Gunther's a great racing family, so I'm glad that they reached out to Cody. They won't be disappointed.
Yeah, so really happy to hear that. So, well, I guess that probably about does it.
Thank you for letting us go over. I warned
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Not worried about
and we'd love to come back.
Good. It's good to know. Those reads were excellent, and a lot of people chatting in Facebook about entertaining, and it's a good show.
Oh, good. We're glad.
It's good.
We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of passion for the sport. So thanks for having us, and thanks for letting us just chew your ear off for way more time than we thought we were going to.
No.
And we are done bench racing. We are ready to go to the track. So, Jerry, I hope you're ready for us.
We're coming, Jerry.
So this weekend, is there going to be a gamblers race? I think it was Cody, actually. I think it was Cody,
yeah,
right?
We're going to see. I think they need to get some heat in the track. They need to get some rubber down on the track. I am positive that huge shout out to Pat Budd. I know he's been on that dragger, and that I know he's been working nonstop to make us a beautiful race surface. So I think maybe after Saturday, when we really see how everything settles in, we might be able to get something in on Sunday. Maybe.
So this weekend, I know the swap meet is this weekend.
Yeah.
So is it going to be test and tune, at least test and tune for Saturday and Sunday?
Right.
Yeah, test and tune for Saturday and Sunday. The swap meet, they say Saturday and Sunday. I think Saturday is the bigger day. So if you're interested in coming, it's probably Saturday you want to come. I don't know that everyone stays on Sunday, but it is going to be both days. And then, Lord willing, next week we will be doing
actually
our first
racing,
points race.
Right.
We obviously now we can start talking all over again because we're getting all excited because we're going to go racing and we want to talk about that. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. So, Mother Nature, please cooperate. We really need to start racing.
Well, I would say as far as test and tune goes this week, good luck
Thank you.
with whatever you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, we'll definitely have to have you on in a couple weeks or a couple months maybe, and see how the season's going for you.
Yeah.
But I know
love
for
to come
myself
back.
personally, I look forward to seeing you guys out of the track in a couple weeks. So I should be out in a few weeks myself. So.
Good. We'll look
We
forward to
always
it.
have tons of food.
Yes.
So please, I know you're right there in the back row where Pete and I are. We always have tons of food. The more the merrier.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So the next time
because we don't.
We should tell you the food story.
Oh boy, we'll save that for next time.
There you go.
We'll save the food story for the next time.
So what were you saying, Chris?
Next time we are scheduled to be on is the 27th of May, which is leading up to.
That's leading up to our first. That's leading up to our Western Super Auto Association's first race. So
it's also leading up to when I go out to Chillicothe for 3 days at Bash for Cash.
Oh.
So I don't think I'm going to be available Thursday night.
Okay.
So we'll have to figure something out.
So maybe we'll do it the week after then.
We can look at the 3rd of June. Yep.
Okay.
That would work.
We'll figure something out.
Sounds good. Post-production meeting close to commencing. That's going to do it for this edition of the Fun Around Drag Racing Podcast. Excited to have you along for the ride. It's been a good one. We'll be back here again in some inordinate amount of time. We'll be back. See you then. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.